So today I'm going to be breaking down a couple parts from this little clip that I made a short out of. We're going to go more in depth on some of the stuff that I just glossed over. This is what the full thing sounds like, so you know what you're getting into. So we're going to start with this little bend sound that I have right here. What you want to do with this is take two oscillators that are samples. I'm going to turn off my filtering and I'm going to turn off my post effects so you kind of have an idea of how shitty these sounds can start out. And we just basically started this one out with a bunch of notes here. Let me turn all my bend notes off so we can go from the beginning. Right, so just a repeating note like that. And then what I've done is I've taken an LFO and set it to a filter, right? So these are just two different samples. One of them is pitched down 3 semitones because it's in D sharp. If you look at the keyboard here, I want it to be in C. That's D. I'm going to pitch this sample, which is in D sharp, 1, 2, 3 down to get it into C so that when I play a C plays, or any other note on the keyboard, right? I'm just kind of like lining that up. And then I'm going to send that into a filter where I've added 2 modulations. So the first one, I'll bypass. This one is going to be this LFO set to a half rate on free mode. What that does is for every 2 notes that plays here, as you can see, it's kind of moving my filter. So I have this modulating this, and it's pretty low. And then I'm going to send that also, or modulate that also by envelope 2, which is going to just kind of pop the top of it and make it have a pluck and like some movement to like the tones that are being represented. I also have a chorus on this. So a little bit of width, but then from there I send it through some post effects. So first things first, just a guitar rig, put any kind of like reverby like phase mangling type shit, just put some stuff on it. I'm not going to explain that because a lot of y'all probably don't have a guitar rig. Just put anything to make it sound different. An EQ that's probably not important until we get to the next part. And then I have this volume gate that basically on a half rate, same as my first LFO here, right? Half rate on this with the free mode turned on. This is the same thing. Half rate, free mode is, you know, just means it's going to go with the time of the DAW and not like re-trigger at any point. And then lastly, this send, which just mutes it out, so that's not that important. And then the other thing is I have these little bend notes here, where I just have notes that, as you'll see, there's a tiny little bit of swing on the second ones there, which means that it'll start at the A sharp or the G, which is probably not in key, so you know it doesn't really matter. It's just 2 different bends. And then I have mono and legato turned on with a little bit of portamento and some curve. Right, and this sound is not that good. So what can we do to make it a little better? I just added a lead here, so let's kind of play that lead, you know, just full strength. This is what this lead sounds like. It's a preset that I've made. I'm kind of trying to do like a hyperpop preset pack for Serum, and this one has a lot of macros and cool stuff that I'm not going to mess with because I don't want to mess the sound up, but this is what it sounds like. Let me kind of show the pattern here so you can see that it's just not a random pattern, but like... If you want to get something similar and you don't want to buy something that I made, just make, you know, a lot of detuning on some saw waves. Have the detuning have this rave knob that just brings the detuning way up. And as you can see, I'm doing 3, 4, and 7. A bit of a, what's the shell? The thing that's like... Fuck, that would have been a better joke if I remembered the punchline. It's the perfect numbers. It's the schizophrenic thing where it's like you lose your mind fully and you start seeing the swirling shell thing. I'll put an image of it in the video right now. It's that 3, 4, 7. I mean, the idea is really just you don't want it to be 4, 4, and 4. You don't want it to be 7, 7, and 7. You got to mix it up. Add a little chaos to your stuff. and then I'm sending that through a low pass filter. You gotta have the Heart LFO. Good God, this tutorial is gonna go off the rails if I keep getting silly. Yeah, what's important here? I have an envelope that modulates a low pass filter, and I also have this revolving thing, which really what this does, I would guess, is where are these? This goes to effects 4, filter resonance. What the fuck is even that? Oh, it goes to this. So as you can see, it's just kind of modulating this in the heart pattern, which again, God damn it, I wish I could remember. I'm looking it up. What's the name of the Nautilus thing? The golden ratio, baby. That's what it is. This is the golden ratio. You have to have the heart in order to achieve the golden ratio. Anyways, you're gonna want to take that, send it into your same post effects. And then we're just gonna mix it to fit with the little bendy lead that I have. Because as you can hear right now, it nearly just like drowns out that. So we're just gonna turn the volume down on the input. And then we're gonna take that and add some other things to it. So first we have the dubious lead. And the dubious lead is just a preset that I found in this particular contact library. A really good sound. It's called Lossy Bit Arp. And the thing that I found that was useful modulating in here is the release. I'll turn this thing off that I have on the project for a second, which is this volume shaper, I think, that defaults to on. And this is just an identical volume shaper that goes on like my melodic master bus. Right, so it gates that sound to go with the other sound, but just for the intro here, and that turns off once the other section hits. But the thing that I found that was useful to modulate in here was the release, because you get a different tone that's like a little more, not staticky, but like, you know, blocky sounding is how I would describe that, compared to the flowy or longer release. Right, you get a much jellier, smoother sound, and I just felt like that really worked well with this. I guess what I'm trying to get at here is, if you're using something like this, you normally for like contact libraries or like things that are ARPs that are like pre-programmed in, I struggle to use them in music because they're so pre-programmed that it makes it hard for them to fit with other things without going under the hood and adjusting the sequence and like fucking the sound up. You can either do that or just start with this, right? In this case, I just started with this little dubious lead and some drums, and then just find like a single thing in here that you want to modulate. So for me, it was the release, but it could be the space, it could be the attack, it could be the resonance, it could be a couple of those, or it could be none of those. But just remember, you have the option to use all of it, but you also have the option to use none of it, and just use the static sound that it comes with. This one's a good sound. You could find tons of things to do with this. From there, let's move into drums. So I'm going to start with what I started with, which is just hats. And I kind of have an amalgamation of different drums in this. For this one, I just have this simple hat pattern that's like quarter notes, a couple different hats here. So I'm using one of my samples from a sample pack, Glitchy Bullshit Super in this case. Just kind of an open hat sound, along with this dance hat that happens every other thing. I'm probably explaining too much here. Along with, what is this? This is a shaker, yes. And then just remember, if we're doing a weird thing like this, a little bit of swing never hurt nobody. So I'm swinging these different amounts. And you don't, if you have a lot of swing, one thing that I found too is like, if you're using a ton of swing, repetition can be useful to like stabilize that. And then also you might want to go in here and use your mixers, your input thingamajigs to get some, some different sounds that aren't all the same volume. Like if they're all the same volume, you kind of get a little, less of a textured, professional sounding thing. I don't know. It's just kind of random. I don't know what to say about that other than I'm not that good at programming drums, but just use everything that you have available to you. Then we're gonna mix that with a drum kit hat set that I found. That was this one. This is probably my favorite drum kit in all of Contact. Kareem Riggins drums. Do I know this guy? No. Does he have good drum selection? I'd say so. And then I'm just going really simple, right? I'm just repeating one of the shakers that like has this little crackle under it, along with you know, one of the closed hats, right? So we have that mixed together. And also don't forget, you have volume controls here that I didn't use there, and I also didn't use them here. But where did I use them? In the other drums that I have, which are right here. Didn't I? Did I not? Yeah, I used one in the whole thing just so I could say that. Now, this is again just another Kareem Riggins drum thing here. Why did I go in here and separate out my snares from my hats? Right, because I'm using the same thing, but I just have two different versions of them. I have the little hat deke, and I have the pimper snare. Don't judge me, it's just what I named it. The reason I did that is so I can go in and add different post effects to my different things, and I can basically have like my hat deke have its own effects set where I can like cut some of the lows out of it, and then my snare, probably I wanted to send it through more distortion and compression. One thing that you can do here with any of these kits is go in and set which drums you want to be sent where as far as send effects go. So you have this effects panel, insert effects go on everything if you choose for them to, right? So if we go to our kit, we can pick out the insert effects for these. I think you can do any that you want for them, but I'm not going to spend any time on that because all I really want to talk about here is I want my snare to have a little bit of reverb that I don't want my kick to have. Right, I don't like that sound as much. So we're gonna just send my yellows into some reverb, except for my snare, which I'm gonna also send into the first send. So this is your send 1, send 2. So I added this really small reverb called New Air to all of my snare sounds, and then I added the reverb one that's like a little bigger to just my big snare, right? My main snare. Right, so hopefully that's giving you an idea of stuff that you can do. Let's move into the main thing that you guys are gonna actually care about, which is how did I make this sound? And how did I achieve that? So we're gonna just talk about the main parts because breaking all the intricacies of the sound down will get over bloated and just not be as useful. So we have a couple things here. We have oscillator B detune, and this just changes what the detuning amount on this is. So really you don't have to worry about that. We'll turn all these off for now. Just don't let me forget to turn them back on later. I'm gonna look like a fool. So we have a little bit of portamento set to always. I like to add a macro to my portamento sometime. I think that one is speed. Oh no, it's bend speed. And then I'm just using a saw wave with one of those new Serum 2 analog wavetables. Pitch down 2 octaves. We have a little bit of noise on the top there. And then I have my second oscillator here pitched up 2 octaves, right? So we have this and this. And with that little bit of detuning, right? If we set that to 50, no detuning, right? It gives it a little bit of warbly weirdness. This sample never gets used, but it's a part of the patches. It's again for the Hyperpop preset pack. The mini ties is what that one's for. Yeah, it sounds cool, but we're not using it in this one. It's just pitched up an octave with a little bit of fine tuning spread. So add some noise. Then we're gonna add a filter, and what am I sending? My noise just goes through filter 2, right? So as you can see here, it goes through both, but the filter 2 is the only one that the noise is affecting. That's just a high pass. And I'd say we'll leave that where it is. I'm not gonna mess with this patch. And then we just have envelope 1 modulating a couple of things. I'll kind of get to them as we go. First things first, being the low 12 filter that does everything, right? It does everything but the sub, which is all the sound sources. And then we have LFO1, then LFO1 here is on this 4-bar pattern that's set to free, that just kind of expands and contracts this filter to give some swing overall to the music altogether, right? I think that fully explains that. Hopefully you're seeing here that as the bar progresses with my notes here, once we get to the end of that 4-bar section, it opens up. So these are the most open notes of this particular section. It's subtle, but it adds a lot in context to the track. And then just note too, like with my note selection here, I'm just using these notes but bending between them sometimes, right? So the ones that overlap are when my little mono trigger is set to like restart every time. All right, moving on to effects. What do we have? We have a bode. And in this particular case, it looks like everything is set to the default except even the blur. And you hear how it just makes it like wet and lasery? Good little thing to add. Then we have hyperdimension. And what is this being modulated by? Macro 2, which is the dull. So as you can see, I have a macro here on both my bode and my hyperdimension expander. Just really a weird, sharper, duller. I don't know. That's what that does. Oh, and then see, this is a cool thing too that I found, which is by reducing the width after adding stuff like this. You might think that sounds better in the mix, but it almost gives it like a lo-fi sound if it's in the center. Let's kind of play it with everything and see if that utility is more helpful or more hurtful. Do you hear how when I have that this utility that brings the width down really small, but hear how when I turn that on, it opens up more space for the drums and other stuff in the mix? One of the best mixing advices that I ever heard, I believe it was from a Jaws tutorial. So I think it was just Jaws, J-A-U-Z, that said, if everything is wide in your mix, nothing is wide in your mix, right? So if everything is everywhere, nothing is anywhere. So let's, try and be picky. But also, maybe you don't like this, or you want this to be the wide thing and the drums to be the mono thing. Just be choosy. Make one everybody plays their role. You don't want people playing every role because not everybody's Tom Brady. Even though and that's a perfect example. Tom Brady could not fucking run. I mean, nobody cares about this, but the motherfucker could not run a lick. He couldn't catch the ball. He couldn't do anything but throw. And kiss his son. My dude, Eva, my partner hates it hates it when I bring that up. The man kisses his son. Let him kiss his boy. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google Tom Brady's son kiss, and you'll see. I don't know what I would describe it other than inappropriate. And definitely not appropriate for a tutorial. Let's move on to the distortion. I'm so glad that somebody right now is Googling that and just being like, what the fuck is he talking about? When you see it, you'll get what I'm talking about. Tom Brady should have been throwing the ball. He should not have been everywhere, everything, everywhere all at once. Is not good. It's how you end up kissing your son like that. You don't want to do that. The overall arching theme of this tutorial, don't do everything because you end up kissing your boy. In a way that looks not good. I'm gonna turn everything back off, and then lastly we have a soft clipper where I have modulated envelope 1 to the drive. A vocal hall that's just this little small room that when you turn it on, envelope 4 or envelope 1 is routed to the mix of that, and then you can go into the matrix here, sort by source, envelope 1, macro 3, which is this one. If you set this to be that means that whenever you have your small room turned on, your envelope 1 macro will also go, which allows it to do this little gating thing. And then we have a compressor. And that's kind of it for this sound. Hopefully that gives you an idea of how you can make it. I also have an OTT and an EQ on it just to fit it with the mix. The OTT is just to bring the sub out. And then lastly, just remember that like if you're making a song, you want to reuse these elements that you have. You don't want to just, get to this point and be like, all right, now let's add 50 new things that completely change the song. This is more directed at myself than anyone else, but I struggle to like sound design so much, or I do so much sound design that anytime I get to a new part, I always want to design new sounds. Don't do that, right? Or for me, don't do that. This is a me problem, probably not a everybody problem. You can use the sounds you already made to make the next part of your song. So the only new thing I've added here is this little... that little piece along with this, which is like pitched up. And then I went back, instead of writing a new bend with new shit, I just go back to the original bend instead of the like more complex one. And then for the hats, instead of like writing new hats, I just simplify them. Instead of having these, right? So I'm making more space for stuff to happen in like a breakdown. I didn't really explain anything other than just don't make a new bass, use your original bass, write some new notes. Don't make a new hat thing, use your original hat thing, change some stuff. Don't get a new preset, use the same preset, change the octave. I'm using a drum loop from Glitchy Bullshit Super Duper, so the new drum kit, or the new sample pack that's giant, and you should go buy it. But instead of being like, oh, I'll just add this pre-did drum thing, I just made like a little mini chop out of it. So this is a work in progress. I might do some more work on it and finish it. I enjoyed making this. It took me a day, which is quicker than I usually work. So I'm just rambling at this point. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you got something out of it. If you want to support this channel, go to Patreon. check that out. Go to Gumroad, buy the newest sample pack, buy everything. That's going to do it for this one, y'all. Thank you for watching.